my name is Leslie Seabrook. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada. Thank you for watching my StampinTrix video. Today I'm excited to show you a fun technique, and I'll warn you, it's easy to get hooked on this technique. I'll show you how to use the masking technique with blending brushes. So if you're new to stamping, the masking technique is about just simply covering an area. So as I said, I'm using blending brushes today. There is different ways that you can do the masking technique, so I'm going to do a second video in a couple of weeks. But right now, today, I'm just going to use the blending brushes. So you cover an area or you mask it off where you don't want the color. And then the other way to use the blending brushes is to cover an image with a mask and then add more color to create a layered look and achieve some depth and dimension. So I'll show you what I mean with a couple of designs to begin with. So we're going to make this card later, so I'll just move it off to the side. But this is the first card that I want to show you. So it's super simple. I used the Stamparatus, so just pull this in here right now for a quick minute. Try to get the glare off of it. And I stamped the image first using Memento black ink. If you don't have the Stamparatus, it is one tool I would highly recommend, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. It's a stamp repositioning tool. So as I said, the stamp set that I use is called Happiest of Birthdays. I love the large font of this stamp. So when I use the Stamparatus, I can ink up the stamp, stamp it on the paper, and then ink it up again if I miss certain areas, because it is a large expansive area. But I love the rest of the sentiments in this stamp set, so this is one of my go-tos. So first step is to stamp with the Stamparatus, and then the second step is to mask off an area. So I'll show you, sorry, I'm just moving my mask off an area that you wish to color. So I used Post-it notes just because I like to create or I like to have a palette close by so that I can rub off the ink, the excess ink, before I color it into the circle. But you can create or you can hold down your mask with anything, with you know, a low tack tape or Post-it notes, whatever you wish, just to simply keep it secure. So I colored this image with blending brushes, and then I put the Coastal Cabana on, and I colored this image, or colored this sort of circle here. Now remember, it wasn't adhered to the card base yet. And then I did the same with the pink. So how did I create the circles? I used our layering circles dies, and I'll show you those in a few minutes because that's what we're going to use to create the balloons as well. So in that example, as I said, I just simply covered the area where I didn't want the color and then added the color to the center, just to create a fun sort of color blocked idea. So then the second example that I want to show you, and I did post these on my blog, so if you go to www.stampintrix.ca, you can get the card details with the measurements. So this one I just stepped up a little bit by adding the scallop die. So after I stamped it, before I adhered it to the polished pink, I used our die shape. Oh, it wasn't actually the scallop die, it was the smaller one. And cut it out, and then as you'll see, if I pull it up here carefully, I just popped it up on dimensionals, so it gives a little bit of dimension to the card. So if you happen to have a stamp cut and emboss machine and some dies, that is a super simple way to just add a little bit of height and get some dimension. So the second card uses our fabulous decorative masks. So I showed you a minute ago how I created my own mask with circles and the circle dies, but I'll show you our decorative masks. So these are called, oh, sorry, I've just got them all stuck together here now. These are called our layering, butterflies and flowers layering decorative masks. So you'll see this image right here is this image here. And again, I just wanted to have a little palette to work with, so I just made sure that all this plastic material was covered with post-it notes. Now, a little word on what you use what you use to create your masks. So this is obviously, as I said, a product from Stampin' Up. I'll show you the other masks in this set because it's a really cool little set. Even though we're not using them today, I'll just give you a little sneak peek. So in the annual catalog, Stampin' Up has something called decorative masks, basic patterns and plenty of patterns. Then these are from the mini catalog, the January to June mini. And the idea behind these masks is that you can layer them. So you'll see that these create really cool background images because it's this plastic, flexible, but sturdy plastic piece. And then I'll show you this butterfly. But the idea with this butterfly is after you use your blending brush here, you can then come along and place the second butterfly over top and create lots of extra detail. Or you could come in with something like this, the flowers, and apply the flowers to different parts of the butterfly. So these masks from Stampin' Up are really great quality, as I said, flexible yet sturdy plastic, and you can certainly create a mask that way. But I just wanted to be a little bit inventive and create my own, so that's why I went for the circles. So something I want to share with you about this particular style, where you stamp first with Memento Black and then you color on top. I'm not sure whether or not you can see, but after a couple of days, this sort of took on, the black took on a bit of a washed out look. So on my second one that I'm creating, I came along with my Stamparatus a second time after I put the image down with the blending brushes, ink, and the masks, and I re-stamped it with the black Memento. And again, that's where I said this Stamparatus is super fabulous. So as you can see, I can just reposition this image that I've already colored. Make sure I have my magnets on to hold, ink up this stamp, and then close it again. And I'll add more black to these colored areas, which gives a sharper image. So I really like that, and that was just something I sort of learned through trial and error, so I wanted to make sure I told you about it. But the card that we're going to create today is this happy birthday card. So let's just see, where am I at? I want to make sure I don't forget to tell you certain things. This is sort of just a way, I guess, to kind of take it up a notch. So as I said, I used our layering circles dies. So I'll pull them in just so that you can see them. They come in a pack like this. There is a slew of them available, lots of different sizes. Scallops as well, and you can layer them together to create, you can have a scalloped edge to your cutout circle. So really cool set of dies, but I used these ones right here. So the 3 dies, sorry, I'll just see if I can pull things out of the way in a sensible manner. I used the 3 dies, and I created some masks for myself. So remember, in this situation, as I said, you're using a mask to cover or mask off the areas where you do not want color. So I just created this mask with the circled eyes. Super simple, easy to do. So I'll show you how I colored it. Oh, I just got rid of my color, my cardstock here. So I'm going to just squat down here to do a little bit of coloring. I hope my voice doesn't change too much. And if you leave me a comment and I'm working away here, then I will pop up and see it in a minute on my phone because I can't see it on my iPad. Okay, so first one that I'm going to use is the blue, I think. So this is our Coastal Cabana. It's sort of a blue-green, and as you can see on my blending brush, I have some green from when I did this image right here. And so I forgot to wash it, so I'm just making sure that there is no green on it. There's a teeny tiny little bit, but that's okay. I'm still within the blue-green color family, and it's not going to show as soon as I start to ink up the colors. So this is just a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of paper, and I literally am just randomly putting it onto the paper, just because, as I said, I'm kind of going for that. I thought I had this set up, but I don't. I was sort of just going for this random look of balloons. You'll see in a minute how I pull it all together, but I didn't really care exactly where it is on the page because I'm going to cut it off and make a strip. I'm going to just cut it afterwards and create a strip for this card. So you just mask off the area on the card. As I said, you can use Post-it notes, you can use low-tack tape, whatever you prefer. You just need to keep it as secure as possible. So I like using, I don't know if you can tell, I like using the blending brush with just a circular motion to just get a little bit of ink on, and then I blend off just to see how much color is coming through on the brushes, if I'm getting a concentrated area of color, because sometimes my ink pad has more ink in one spot than in another, depending on what I've been using it for. So I like to start off light and go dark. And I've often said that when it comes to blending, you can always add color, you can't take off color. So I like to blend off of the image that I'm creating and move onto it and just add a little bit of color. So what I think is really fabulous about blending brushes is that you can get so many different depths of color. So even just with this one ink pad, Coastal Cabana, I could have a very, very light colored balloon, or I could just keep adding color and I could almost get it to like a Bermuda Bay darker shade. Same color family, fairly close to each other on the color wheel, and just really play around with the depths of color. And you can also add highlights. So just simply by putting more ink down at the base and leaving less ink up at the top of the circle here, it almost gives it a bit of a highlight look. And I think I talked when I was doing the dragonfly card, when I was doing the bokeh technique, I like to just hold the blending brush near the end and just continually add color, as opposed to putting my finger on the top of the blending brush. You can certainly do that. You will just get a heavier application of color in like one brush stroke. So let's just see. I'll stand up a little bit, see if I can see, get a bit more of a highlighted look up at the top. So I think I'm happy with that. That's the Coastal Cabana. So super simple. If you wanted to create a card right now just with this one circle, you could turn it into a balloon by putting a little piece of baker's twine there and bringing the baker's twine down to an image at the bottom. So it looks like this little party puffin here is holding a balloon. But I want to show you, so I'll pull it up a little bit closer here. I just want to show you how I created the layering effect, because this is sort of step 2 of the masking. So when I cut out the circles from my cardstock, I was left over with circles, cardstock circles, and I could certainly use those. But what I've found is that the cardstock is sometimes just too thick. So when you start to do your blending, there's like a ridge because the cardstock is, you know, is kind of weighty. So my advice would be to use a Post-it note or a sticky note, and or you could use just copy paper, but something that's really fine and light, so it's not as thick as the cardstock. So you just place it on. Hopefully this will stick since I've used it a couple of times. Maybe I'll give it an extra little hold by just sticking it down with my Post-it note there. And then I will come along with this piece of mask that I've created. And I'm just going to make sure, as I said, that it's well secured onto the base so that it doesn't move. And I do hold on to it, but I really like to I like to be able to hold my ink pad as well, so that should be pretty good. I'm going to put another one right in here just because I want that to be really flat. Okay, so this time I think I'll use Flirty Flamingo. And this is what I mean about, it's just a personal preference, but having a bit of a color palette here, or a little space to create a color palette so I can see how much ink I've got onto my brush before I move it onto the image. So step 1 was to mask off the areas where you didn't want color. Step 2 is to put a mask onto your previously colored image. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. It just sort of takes it up a notch. Because when you look at it, you think, how did you do that? How did you create that? It's really kind of cool. So I'm just doing this with the layering circles, as I said, to create my mask. You could do it with pretty much any die cut image that has, you know, an open area. So I'm going to show you another card when I'm done of a different die set that I used. So that's why it becomes, or I said at the beginning, you may get hooked. Because all of a sudden you start to see your stamps and your dies in a completely different way, and you can think, oh, how you could create a layer, put one image in front of the other. It's almost just like a little trick to the eye. So again, I think I'm going to keep it sort of lighter in one little area, just so that there's a bit of a highlight almost. However, I really want right where the two edges of the balloon colors are going to meet, so here and here, I really want to make sure that I get a nice depth of color there, because the contrast really adds to the look, the depth and dimension look that you end up with. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Maybe one more little bit right here. So you can, again, as I said, make this as dark or keep it as light as you wish. I think I'm happy with that. Just put my ink away. And then when we peel this off, again, you see a circle, just like in the beginning, but then when you peel this one off, you see the background image, the background circle image here. So I'm going to add the next one, and I think I would like it to be, I don't know if I want it to be the same size or smaller. Maybe I'll make it nice and big. I was only going to use 3 colors today, but now I'm sort of thinking about that a little bit differently. Maybe I will use maybe I will do more circles depending on how much time I have. So again, just apply your mask to your previous, oh, I have to squat down here. Apply your mask to your previously colored image. Try to get it as straight as possible, right on the edge. I think I'll just, again, hold that down. And then, I don't know if it was this image. Yeah, that one. I'll just layer over the top. Oh, my eyes today. It's hard to see. Go through a lot of Post-it notes. I have an old Post-it note holder here that I just use for my die cutting and for masking and things like that. So I just kind of have an old one handy and available to me, and you can certainly reuse your Post-it notes, but when you're doing a whole bunch of different colors, I kind of like to create just a little template, because your color can move from one, like the blending brushes can pick up color and move it from the outside edge here, if you happen to have color around this outside edge, and pull it onto your image. So I always like to start with a fresh one. So I'm going to grab my yellow family blending brush. Has anybody ever tried this? If you have, please leave me a comment. As I said today, I'm just using the blending brushes to create this look, but there's lots of different ways to mask. I think I need another Post-it note right there. So I will do another video in the future, but during the month of March, I've been using blending brushes as much as possible on all of my projects. And part of the reason that I've done that is because the card class to go that I offer, which is a virtual card class option, for the card class to go for the month of March, it was blending, using blending brushes. So part of what came in your kit of supplies for that card kit or card class to go was blending brushes. And so I really wanted to help people to learn all the different ways to use blending brushes. So the card class to go was just an introduction with card supplies, products. You could use the stamp set of your choice. This one was Easter Friends that we used in March. But the card class to go gives you a starting point with a variety of different supplies and pre-cut card supplies. But then through the month, I try to add in more of the same, perhaps technique or product or whatever, depending on what the card class theme is, so that you can continue to use the products or continue to do the technique. So if you're interested in virtual card class options, that's something that you can check out going to my blog, www.stampintrix.ca, and you can read about my card class to go option. It's in the top menu bar, and I think right now maybe the menu tab might say card kits. Can't remember. I think so. I'm going to change it to card class. Anyways, so what is really cool about this, if you notice, this last balloon that I created here, the last image, actually becomes, I'm going to peel it all off, actually becomes the background image. So if you're thinking about your color placement, it's interesting to think the first color that I put on is the image that you're going to see the most of. The last color that you put on, or the last image, circle image, is going to appear to be your background image. So I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so there you have it. That is all there is to it. To do a little bit of masking using, as I said, just various size circles cut from dies. And then I created a little card just by putting the white baker's twine on each of the balloons with a glue dot. And in this case, as I said, I did the 5 colors. And then, you know, I just cut my paper down a little bit. This little strip here is from our supple shimmer paper. And I tried to, it's sort of a pool party color. I tried to add a little bit of Pacific Point ink to it because this is a Pacific Point background. And it did take a little while for it to dry. Because the sparkles, I don't know if it's not coming off anymore, it's dried on quite well and it's soaked into the paper. But initially it was, you know, just kind of sitting on top of the sparkles and it was coming off on my hands. So I didn't use it on the card, I just used the pool party. And then this is just one of our tailored tags. I just cut it off so it could fit the card. And I used our Party Puffins stamp set with the happy birthday sentiments. And then these little rhinestones are our Waves of the Ocean rhinestones. So they're kind of cool and they're available for a limited time only, but I love the blue colors of those rhinestones. So that's the how-to of creating the mask. And now I just wanted to show you finally is creating a mask with dies that aren't basic shapes like a basic circle. So I should actually probably bring this card up. So I don't know if you can see. This is a die. It's a leaf die. And then the flower here is actually cardstock on top of another blended layer that I had masked off. So I'm just going to show you the supplies that I used for that one, because that's like totally kicking it up a notch. the sentiment comes from thank you. The thank you sentiment comes from Shaded Summer, sorry. And it's this stamp set right here. So it's just the thank you down at the bottom. Now, I used the dies that were part of a celebration, I think it was, a celebration product offering a little while back. So they're not available, but you can certainly use any dies that you have that are a non-geometric shape, like the circles. So just want to sort of expand your thoughts there a little bit on that. So if you can see, this is the solid image here, and then this is the outline image. So when I pull the card back in, the solid image is in the background here, and this is Daffodil Delight and Mango Melody. So I created a mask the exact same way as I did with the circles. So here is the leaf die cut out. There's the leaf die, matches that one. And then here is so this is the detailed die, and I cut cardstock with that. And then this is the solid die. So as you can see, this is almost like just creating a circle. You're just creating an open area. So when I place that onto my card, before everything else was there, I just colored it in with the Mango Melody and the Daffodil Delight. And then I applied the cutout die cut layer in the cardstock on top. But I decided to leave the leaves just the die cut masked leaf, and not provide any detail with the die cut image. So it just went on just like that. So you can see how you can really layer it up. And then that one was just in there. I think you can probably see it. And I cut it out with the same scalloped die that I showed you in the beginning. Where did my leaves go? I cut it out with this one. And then just laid it on the card. So really super neat way to create a little bit of dimension and depth to your images. You can use your own die cut shapes to create your own mask and mask off the area where you do not want color. Or you can purchase our masks and use them to go over an image. In this case, this one right here, just to go over the image. I like that better. And color it in. So all kinds of different options and ideas. And really, the sky's the limit. So that's why I said you may find that you get hooked. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. Please don't hesitate ever to ask me any questions. You can leave them in the comment below. I probably will upload this video from my Facebook business page up to my YouTube business page. So if you happen to be watching it on the replay, please do leave a question there. I do go back and check my videos to see if anybody has asked questions, as well as get my notifications and things like that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And if you have any other ideas of things that you think would be really neat and you'd like me to give a try or do a video on, certainly leave a comment in the comment box too. I really appreciate it when you share or comment, because I am trying to grow my online business, so it's so very helpful. I'm trying to build my subscribers on YouTube, and so it's terrific if you feel that you would like to subscribe, or, as I said, leave a comment, share. I often do something I call make a card, send a card. And So the cards that I make, then I send off to somebody whose name I draw from a hat of all those people that left me a comment or shared. So please do so, and I'd be happy to send this card off to you if you're the lucky winner. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. If you're interested in purchasing any of the supplies that you see today and you live in Canada, you can go to my online store right here. And as I said, directions for these few cards and this one as well are, well, actually all of them are on my website. So I think I've put the blog links in the description below, so you can go back and get the specific measurements. But I hope I've taught you something. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope I've inspired you to use your blending brushes and create a mask and build a scene, or build layers and add some depth and dimension to your projects. So thanks so much for watching. Have a super day. Bye-bye.